I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mark, and I want to tell the story of how I found out my wife, Lisa, was cheating on me. We'd been married for about 6 years, and honestly, things weren't perfect, but I never suspected she'd be capable of what I found out. We have no kids, never could, actually. We were trying to adopt, which was one of the few things we still clung to as a shared hope. That's what makes this whole thing hit so hard. From the outside, Lisa always seemed like she had her act together. She was smart, assertive, and a total bitch sometimes, but I loved her. Or at least I thought I did. Lately, she'd been more distant, and I noticed little things. She'd leave her phone around more often, hide her texts, and she started working late more than usual. I didn't push her. I figured she was stressed with the adoption process, which was hell in itself. We'd been denied twice already, and I could see her frustration. We'd argue sometimes, mostly about the process and how unfair everything was, but she'd always have some excuse. She was tired, busy, needed to focus. Then last week I got a call from the court clerk. I was at work when I saw her name pop up on my caller ID. I figured it was about some paperwork or an update on the case. When I answered, she was surprisingly abrupt, cutting straight to the point, almost jittery. She said she needed to see me urgently because she came across some important documents related to the adoption case. I was confused because I hadn't heard anything new. She insisted it was crucial and I should come home immediately. I got home that evening and the house felt weird, like a storm was brewing, but I didn't know the storm was inside. Lisa was in the living room acting anxious. She looked different, more tense than usual. She kept fidgeting, avoiding eye contact. I could tell she was hiding something. When I asked how her day was, she brushed it off, said she had something she wanted to talk to me about. That's when she handed me a manila envelope with her signature on it, the case documents. I opened it and right away I saw some strange things. Court transcripts, correspondence, but what caught my eye was a name, James Carter. That was the judge overseeing our adoption case. I didn't understand at first, but then I saw the date. The same day we got denied, there was a record of a private meeting between Lisa and Judge Carter in chambers. My stomach dropped. I read the documents and it was clear they'd been meeting regularly. The court clerk had found them in chambers during a routine check, him, the judge, and Lisa in some kind of affair. It wasn't just a professional relationship gone wrong, it was something more. Something messy, and apparently they'd been hiding it from everyone, including me. The documents had photos, notes, even a confession from Lisa that she was sleeping with the judge. I couldn't believe it. My wife, the woman I loved, was screwing over our dreams of becoming parents with some corrupt judge. I felt like my world shattered in that moment. I sat there staring at the papers, trying to process what I'd just read. My mind was racing, a jumble of anger, betrayal, and disbelief. How could she do this to me, to us? I had no idea the extent of her lies. Until that moment. I thought I knew her, but everything was a lie. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in the dark, clutching those papers, feeling my heart breaking and my trust evaporating before my eyes. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My head was pounding and my stomach was in knots. I kept turning over the images from that document, trying to make sense of it all. I couldn't understand how Lisa, my wife, could do this to me, why she'd risk everything, including our chances at becoming parents, for some affair with a corrupt judge. It made me furious, but mostly it hurt. Deep down, I knew I'd never be able to look at her the same way again. I got up and made myself a coffee. I couldn't ignore the evidence anymore. I needed to confront her, but I wasn't sure what to say or how to start. When I finally walked into the living room, she was sitting on the sofa, scrolling through her phone, acting like she had no idea I knew everything. The thing is, she's always been a bitchy, manipulative person. She's the kind who lies with a straight face and then blames everyone else when she gets caught. Without even greeting her, I tossed the documents on the table. Her face changed instantly, gone from that smug, defiant look to one of panic and anger. "What's this?" I asked, voice trembling with a mix of rage and heartbreak. She looked at the papers and then back at me, her eyes narrowing. "It's nothing, Mark, just some stupid paperwork from the court. You're overreacting." Overreacting. After reading that she's been screwing a judge while we're supposed to be working toward a family, my blood boiled. That's not just some paperwork, Lisa. That's your name with his in chambers during our case. You've been sleeping with a judge to get what you want. How could you do this to me, to us?" She scoffed and crossed her arms, the typical defensive posture she took when caught. "Look, I don't owe you an explanation. I was under a lot of stress, okay? This has nothing to do with you. I was just, I don't know, trying to get us ahead. Don't you get it? The system's rigged. I did what I had to do. Besides, it's none of your business." That answer made my blood boil even more. It's my business when my wife is screwing around with the judge, Lisa. Do you understand what you've done? You've ruined our chances for adoption, for us to be parents, all for some stupid affair with a crooked judge. She rolled her eyes, voice dripping with condescension. "You don't know what you're talking about. You're always so quick to jump to conclusions. Maybe I did it for us. Maybe I thought it was worth it. You're just jealous, jealous that I was getting what I needed from someone who could actually help us." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was justifying it, making herself out to be some victim. I felt like I was losing my mind, like the whole world was crashing down around me. I wanted to scream, to yell at her, but instead I just stood there, feeling numb. Everything I thought I knew about her was a lie. She had been lying for months, maybe longer, and I was just too blind or too dumb to see it. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, her sneering expression, her lies. The betrayal cut so deep I thought I'd never recover. I asked myself how I let it go this far, how I didn't see the signs sooner. This wasn't just some fling, it was an affair that had been going on in secret right under my nose. I kept asking myself, what did I do wrong? Was I not enough? Did I miss the signs? But the truth was, she never loved me. Not truly. She was just using me to get her way. In the days that followed, I became obsessed with the idea of revenge. I knew I couldn't just walk away from this without some kind of payback. Lisa was a bitch, always had been. But I also knew I had to do something that would hit her where it hurt. I couldn't just let her walk away with my dignity, my hopes, and the betrayal of everything we'd built. I started thinking about how I could destroy her reputation, make her feel the same pain she'd inflicted on me. I wanted her to regret every lie, every moment she spent with that judge. But I also knew I had to be careful. I didn't want to go to jail or ruin my own life, but I needed to make her see that she couldn't get away with this. That's when I started to plan my revenge. I didn't know exactly what I'd do yet, but I knew I'd find a way. And honestly, I was just getting started. The more I thought about it, the more clear it became that I needed to hit her where it would hurt the most. Her ego, her reputation, her sense of control. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was hurt, betrayed, and ready to make her pay for what she did. I started digging into her phone, her emails, anything I could find. I wasn't snooping just out of curiosity. I wanted to gather evidence, proof that would make her realize she couldn't keep lying and cheating her way out of this. She was still acting like everything was normal, but I saw cracks in her facade. She was more irritable, snapping at me for no reason, avoiding me when I tried to talk. She'd go out to run errands and come back later, smelling of some cheap perfume I didn't recognize. I knew she was hiding something, and I was determined to find out what. One night, I decided I had enough. I set up a hidden camera in the living room, nothing fancy, just a small one I bought online. I wanted to catch her in the act if she slipped up again. I knew she'd probably lie her way out of it, but I needed proof. That night, I sat in my office, watching the feed on my laptop as she played with her phone, trying to act innocent. But I saw her slip her phone into her purse and sneak out of the house. I followed her. She went to a shabby motel on the edge of town. I parked across the street and watched her get into a room. The door was ajar, and I could see her inside with a man I didn't recognize. I didn't need to see more. I already knew what was happening. My blood boiled again, but this time it was different. It was a mixture of rage and heartbreak. She was with someone else again. Probably the same guy she'd been sneaking around with, or maybe a new one. That's when I decided I'd had enough. I couldn't let her keep doing this, lying to my face, wasting my time, destroying everything we tried to build. I went home, heart pounding, and started planning my next move. I wanted her to feel as helpless as I did. I wanted her to understand what betrayal was really about. The following day, I made copies of all the evidence I had, screenshots, photos, emails. I even contacted a lawyer, but I knew I wouldn't need to go that route just yet. I just wanted to make sure I had everything ready, all my ducks in a row. I wanted her to see I wasn't just some naive husband who turned the other cheek. I was serious. I was done being played. That evening, I confronted her again. When she got home, I blocked her path in the hallway. "Lisa, I know everything," I said coldly. Her face went pale and she tried to deny it, but I cut her off. "Save it. I saw the videos. I saw the messages. You're a damn cheat and a liar. I trusted you, and you threw it all away for some quick sex with a judge. You're disgusting." Laughed, that bitchy, patronizing laugh she always had when she thought she was winning. "Oh, please, Mark, you're overreacting. You're just jealous because I found someone who could actually help us. You're too stupid to see what's good for you." I felt like I was about to explode. "That's enough, Lisa. I'll be filing for divorce. And after I do, I'll make sure everyone knows what you are. A lying, cheating bitch who fucked over her own marriage and her dreams of becoming a parent. You're not getting away with this." She stormed past me, screaming, "You're just jealous. I don't need you anyway. I don't care if I ruin everything. At least I get what I want." That was the moment I realized I'd finally had enough. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay when she was out there screwing around, lying to my face and destroying our future. I'd been naive maybe, but from now on I was done. I was going to take control of this mess, no matter what it took. I didn't know exactly how I'd do it yet, but I knew one thing. I wouldn't let her get away with it. Not without a fight. The days that followed were a blur of planning and emotion. I knew I needed to act fast, but I also had to be smart. Lisa wasn't just some wife who cheated. She was a manipulative, vindictive woman who knew how to spin stories and twist people around her finger. If I was going to do anything that truly hurt her, I had to be careful, calculated. That's when I started reaching out to some contacts I had, people who knew how to dig, who knew how to expose secrets without leaving a trace. I didn't want to just file for divorce and walk away quietly, not after everything she'd done. No, I wanted her to see that her actions had consequences, that her betrayal wasn't just going to ruin us temporarily. It would ruin her reputation. I started gathering everything I could: recordings, emails, text messages. I wanted to make her see that I wasn't just some naive husband she could brush aside. I was serious, and I was going to fight fire with fire. I also knew I had to be patient. Lisa was the kind of person who'd dig her heels in and try to lie her way out if I confronted her directly, so I played it cool. I let her think I was still clueless, still naive enough to believe her lies. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, I was building my case, collecting enough dirt to make her regret ever crossing me. One night she came home late again, smelling of that cheap perfume with that smug look on her face. I was waiting in the living room, calm but deadly serious. I finally looked her in the eyes and said, "Lisa, I've done some digging. I know everything. About the affair, about the judge, about all your lies, and I'm not just going to walk away. I want the truth. You're going to tell me everything, or I'll make sure everyone finds out what you've been doing." Her eyes flickered, a mixture of fear and anger. "You don't know what you're talking about. You're just jealous, like always. You're paranoid. I was only trying to get us ahead, that's all." I shook my head slowly. "No, Lisa, you've been sleeping around, lying, manipulating. You think you're clever, but I've got the evidence. And if you keep pretending, I'll make sure everyone knows how rotten you are. You think you're the victim. No, you're the villain here." That's when she snapped. She started yelling, crying, acting all innocent. "You're crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. I love you. I was doing all this for us. You're just too blind to see it." I just looked at her, cold and tired. "No, Lisa, you've been selfish, manipulative, and I'm done. I want a divorce, and I want you out of my life for good." The thing is, I knew I couldn't trust her to come clean on her own. I had to force her hand. I had to make her realize that her lies and betrayal had consequences. I started drafting the divorce papers, but I also made arrangements with a private investigator I'd hired discreetly. I wanted her to see that I wasn't bluffing, that I was serious about ending this nightmare. Over the next couple of days, I continued to gather more evidence. I even found a way to record her on her phone, talking with her latest friend, a guy she'd been seeing behind my back. Her voice was honeyed, manipulative, justifying her actions as if she was the victim. That recording was the final piece I needed to make her realize I wasn't playing around anymore. When the moment finally came, I sat her down, staring her straight in the eyes. I played the recordings, showed her the evidence. Her face drained of color as she realized I had her cornered. That was the moment I knew she finally understood she'd gone too far. I told her she'd ruined everything, her marriage, her reputation, her chances at having a family, and that I'd be exposing her for the manipulative, selfish person she really was. That confrontation was the beginning of the end. I felt a strange mix of relief and anger. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I had control. I wasn't going to let her destroy me, not without a fight. I was done being her victim. From now on, she'd have to face what she created. Once I laid everything out, evidence, recordings, even some of her more obvious lies, Lisa's reaction was priceless. She went from defiant to stunned in seconds, her face contorting like she couldn't believe I'd finally caught her. She tried to deny everything, of course, but I just shook my head. I told her I'd had enough of her bullshit, that I was done being played the fool. The day I handed her the divorce papers was the day she finally started to realize she'd gone too far. I told her she'd burned every bridge, that she'd ruined her credibility, not just with me but with everyone who knew her. I warned her that what she did, screwing a judge, hiding behind lies, would come back to bite her. I didn't care if she believed me at that moment. I just wanted her to know I wasn't going to let her get away with it. But here's the thing. I didn't just want to divorce her quietly and fade away. I wanted her to feel the pain she'd inflicted on me. I wanted her to see what it was like to lose everything because of her own greed and selfishness. So, I took things a step further. I contacted a few people I knew in the legal and social circles, people who could help me blow her reputation wide open if she kept pushing me. It was risky, sure, but I was done being nice. Over the next week, I leaked some of the evidence to a few trusted sources, nothing illegal, just enough to make her realize her secrets weren't safe. I knew she'd come unglued, and sure enough, she did. She started to panic, trying to get ahead of the story, calling me every name in the book, accusing me of stalking her, of making everything up. But I had enough proof to shut her down. I told her I'd be going public if she didn't back off and accept the divorce on my terms. The final blow came when I filed the divorce paperwork. I made sure it was clean, straightforward, but with a clause that exposed her affair with the judge. I wanted everyone to know the truth, let her be humiliated, let her face the consequences of her own actions. I knew the fallout would be messy, but I didn't care. I'd been humiliated enough. This was my way of reclaiming some dignity. In the days that followed, she tried to spin her story, but the damage was done. No matter how much she yelled, how many lies she told, the truth was out there now. The people who mattered knew she'd betrayed us both, and she was losing her grip on reality. I felt a strange sense of relief, like I'd finally taken control of a situation that felt like it had spun too far out of my hands. Honestly, I don't know what I learned from all of this except that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who can hurt you the most. And that revenge, as bitter as it tastes, can be a kind of justice. It's not about getting even just for the sake of it, at least not entirely. It's about truth, about making sure the world sees the kind of person she really is. I don't regret exposing her. Maybe it's harsh, maybe it's petty, but it's how I felt I had to fight back. And I do believe, deep down, I'll finally be able to move on. Now that everything's out in the open, I've felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. The divorce is finalized, and Lisa is scrambling to salvage whatever reputation she has left, which isn't much. I've cut all ties with her, blocked her from my social media, and told anyone who would listen the truth about her. It's not about revenge anymore. It's about finally moving on, about reclaiming my life from the chaos she created. Honestly, I don't regret exposing her. Maybe some people will judge me as petty or bitter, but I believe if someone going to lie, cheat, and destroy what's supposed to be a life partner, they deserve to be called out. I wanted her to see that her actions had consequences, big ones, that she couldn't just manipulate her way through life, screwing people over and pretending she was the victim. Looking back, I realize I learned a lot from this whole mess. I learned that trust is fragile, and sometimes the people closest to you are the ones most capable of hurting you deeply. I learned that revenge isn't always about revenge. It's about justice, about making things right in your own way. Most importantly, I learned that I am stronger than I thought. I survived her lies, her betrayal, her manipulation, and I came out the other side still standing. As I piece my life back together, I'm trying to focus on myself, on healing and rebuilding what I lost. I know I won't forget what happened, but I also know I won't let it define me forever. I hope anyone reading this who's been betrayed like I was understands that it's okay to feel devastated, furious, or lost. But it's also okay to fight back, to take control, and to remind yourself that you deserve honesty and respect. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I won't let anyone treat me like that again. I'll find happiness on my own terms now, no matter how long it takes. And if there's one thing I want others to take from my story, it's this. Don't let betrayal break you, but don't be afraid to do what it takes to stand up for yourself, even if it's messy or ugly. Because in the end, the truth always comes out, and so should you.